Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is, does this injury give Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers a golden opportunity? So that's the topic I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification. Ensure that you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also, check out Dreamerspro Max, an online sports community that we created. Place you can go and start basketball discussions, chat live during games, and so many other cool things. So check that out. We have that linked in the description below and get 7 days of access. And also make sure you go ahead and click the join button next to the subscribe button to receive loyalty badges from our channel, and also to ensure that when your comments are left on the channel, they're responded to. So make sure you go ahead and join the channel. Anyway, let me get into the topic here. So since the Nets made the trade for James Harden a number of months back, they put the entire NBA on notice, right? Up until that point, the Nets were just kind of this duo, right? That was pretty much what the NBA was. You had Kawhi and Paul George, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You had Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. You had Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. That was pretty much the trend of the NBA. But then the Nets went ahead and made that trade because at the time Kyrie Irving had stopped showing up for work because he was going through some things. So I think the Nets panicked. That seemed to be the sentiment around the NBA, that the Nets decided that they needed to do something to have an insurance policy, and just in case Kyrie Irving decided to walk away from basketball, right? So they went out there and got James Harden. Although before it was Kyrie and KD, which again was another duo, another solid duo, a duo that a lot of people felt like they had a chance to come out of the Eastern Conference or at least make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Then they went out there and acquired James Harden. At the time, James Harden was disgruntled in Houston. He wasn't happy being with the Houston Rockets. He felt like that situation had ran its course. He felt like there was nothing much more he could do, and he himself even came out and said, listen, this team is just not good enough, right? And he basically quit his way out of Houston, got to the got to the Brooklyn Nets, and the minute they were able to trade for him, I was one of the people out there, I think the many people out there that felt like this thing wasn't going to work. I felt like a lot of these guys were too ball dominant, at least Kyrie and James Harden. And the fact that these are all one-way players, they didn't play defense. So I was like, how is all of this going to work? A lot of them seem to have the same skill set. It's not like Anthony Davis and LeBron James, who operate from two different spots on the floor and bring two different things to to a team. So I felt like it wasn't going to work, and boy was I wrong, right? Not only did it work, they flourished together, right? They immediately became the best offense in the NBA, the scariest offense in the NBA. And after some games, I began to realize that, listen, this team is legit, and they're the scariest team in the NBA because of their offense, right? They were terrible defensively. They weren't a very good defensive team, but it looked like the Brooklyn Nets had decided that, listen, we're going to go all in, and we're going to beat teams on the offensive side of the floor. And essentially, that's what they were doing. As we speak, they're still the number one team in field goal percentage in the NBA, shooting 49.5% from the field. They're the second highest scoring team in the NBA, scoring 118.8 points per game, and they're number 3 in the NBA in three-point percentage, shooting 39.1% from the three-point line. So the Brooklyn Nets are the real deal, right? They're the real deal, and they're the only team in the NBA that has 3 players on their roster that are all averaging at least 25 points per game. Right? This is all on the same team. They're also the only team in the NBA that I can think of that have at least 2 players that are virtually having 50, 40, 90 seasons in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Right? So as James Harden said when he got there, it's scary hours. And he's right. It is scary hours. The Brooklyn Nets have proven that they could beat all of the top teams in the NBA. They already beat the Lakers. They already beat the Clippers. I think they already beat the Jazz. And a lot of those wins, they were doing it with KD and without. Right, but yesterday there was an issue with Kevin Durant in a game that they were playing against the Miami Heat, right? And it's an issue that KD's been suffering pretty much all season long, which is injuries. Kevin Durant, guys, the Brooklyn Nets have played, I think, 58 games, if I'm not mistaken, 58 or 50, 56, 57 or 58 games. KD has missed 33 games this year alone. Kevin Durant has missed about 60% of the season. Just last night, he went out of that game with a thigh injury, with only playing 8 minutes in the game, and he was out of the game, right? And he just went out. But KD, I think, had only been back for about 3 games or so. He had just missed well over a month, and now he just came back, and then he just re-injured himself 3 or 4 games later. Now he goes back on the injury list. And James Harden is also out, right? So I'm like, wait a minute. This team, for them to be as scary as they think they're going to be, and we think they're going to be, the reason why James Harden is saying scary hours, I think we all envision them being healthy, because if they're all three of these guys are healthy with the addition of Blake Griffin, they have Claxton, they have Brown, they have what's his name, Landry Shamet, who had a career high. I think yesterday he had 30 points or something like this. If their key player, their best player's injured, well, this kind of throws a monkey wrench into their plans. Right? You don't fantasize when we look at the Brooklyn Nets possibly coming out of the Eastern Conference and winning it all. A lot of us are looking at them we're envisioning a fully loaded, a healthy Brooklyn Nets team. But if KD is injured, well, that changes things. They become a little bit more manageable. Not like all of a sudden you're just going to run over them, because they're still very good. As I said, they already beat the Clippers one game with KD, the other game without him. They already beat the Lakers one game with KD, I think the other game without KD. So it's not like I said, oh, it's going to be a cakewalk, but it makes things a lot easier, because the health of KD seems to be a little bit blurry. It's not clear to me right now whether or not he's healthy, which brings me to the Clippers. And I think this presents a golden opportunity for the Los Angeles Clippers to capitalize on, because as I said before, the Brooklyn Nets already beat the Clippers this season. But I think the Clippers, if we're looking at any team in the Western Conference, at least in my opinion, that has a shot to beat a fully loaded, a fully healthy Brooklyn Nets, I think it's the Clippers, because of the balance that they have. They're a top 10 defense, but they're also the number one shooting three-point team in the NBA. I think they're now shooting over 42.1% from the field, and they're most likely going to break the record for three-pointers made. Just last night, against the Timberwolves, the Clippers, again, I think in the three out of the last 4 games they've played, they've shot at least 50% from the three. Just last night, again, they shot 50% from the three. They made 21 three-pointers in that game. 21. The Clippers are averaging 14.5 three-pointers a game. So when you have that type of capability to hit threes like that, those three-pointers can not only keep you in a game, they can also bring you back when you're down, as you saw them against the Phoenix Suns. They just basically kept on hitting threes, or were trading threes for twos. But also, you can easily blow teams out, right? If you get hot from the three. And the Clippers have a lot of guys that can shoot three-pointers. They have a lot of great perimeter shooters. You have Serge Ibaka, Nicholas Batum, Kawhi Leonard, Patrick Beverley, Paul George, Luke Kennard, Reggie Jackson. I mean, the list goes on. I think I said Marcus Morris. The list goes on and on. And Terrence Mann can also knock down the three. So the Clippers have a chance to beat any team in the NBA, but also they can play defense, as I said. But with the uncertainty surrounding the Brooklyn Nets, to me, this is an opportunity for the Clippers to take advantage of, right? Because I don't know if KD is going to be healthy the rest of the way. Now, some people say he will be, but he hasn't shown the ability to be healthy, the ability to be healthy this season. Guys, KD hasn't even played 30 games this year. He hasn't even played half the season, and now he's going to be out. And we don't know how long he's going to be out again this time, because, again, the Brooklyn Nets have a very conservative medical staff. So, they're not going to try to rush him back again. So what are we going to look at? KD is going to miss another, 3-4 games? But there are only 13 games left in the season for most teams. 14 or 14 games left in the season. So the season is coming to a close. We have just over a month remaining in the season. So at this point, there are a lot of question marks around the Brooklyn Nets. And to me, I think it presents a window for the Clippers to kind of go into a step through and say, okay, we can take advantage of this. Now, it's worth saying that the Lakers are still the number one threat to the Clippers in the Western Conference. You still have to get through the Lakers, and I think the Lakers are going to be formidable. I think Anthony Davis is coming back this week, so the Lakers are going to get better. And then with the addition of LeBron James, they get even better. I think LeBron is going to be able to figure it out with the roster, with the addition of Andre Drummond and others. I think he's going to be able to kind of understand how that team is going to work. He probably is going to need about 10 games, which is probably enough for him. He's good enough to make it happen. And then the Lakers are going to go into the playoffs, and they're going to be firing on all cylinders if those guys are healthy, right? They already know how to win. A lot of those guys already have championship experience. They know what it takes, and the Clippers don't. So they're going to have that working against them as far as experience, right? They have a coaching staff that understands that their philosophies work, and Tyronn Lue is really trying to see if he can break through with this Clippers team, right? They haven't done it. They've never even made it to a conference final. So the Lakers are still going to be formidable, and I still think they're the best team, not the best. I think the Clippers are the best team, but I think the Lakers are very dangerous. And to me, I'm kind of like projecting, right? The Lakers have proven they can do it. I believe that the Clippers can do it, but still, they got to go out there and beat the Lakers because they're still the champs, and you got to give them that respect. So for me, though, I think with this kind of injury and what's happening with Brooklyn, I think it presents an opportunity for the Clippers to take advantage of. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think it does? Do you think this presents an opportunity to the Clippers to take advantage of? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to ensure that you get the videos, because sometimes you don't. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamers Pro. Wishing you guys an amazing day. Catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.